We're going to take a moment, and I just want you to reflect for a moment. Are your words, your actions, and your facial expressions building up your adult children or tearing them down? In fact, this can be applied to any age child or person around us, really. But as we're focusing on empty nest life right now, we're working on our individualism, maybe our partnership if you're in a relationship, and vacating our expired parenting roles, the things we held on to maintain our identity that are no longer useful because we've equipped our kids to move on with their life, and they may or not be doing it the way you wish they would, but it is their choice when they're adults. My name is Dawn, D-A-W-N, like the morning, the recovery lady. I'm a licensed behavioral health clinician here doing a series on empty nest life. And people think, oh, kids in their teens, then in their 20s, they fall apart, they party, they do things. But I have met many people professionally and personally that I know that have completely fallen apart, gotten depressed, started drinking, using pills, ended up divorcing as empty nesters because it's such a stark life contrast and change. So today, focusing on our actions as we're in our words, mostly our words, as we are building our new identity, building our new normal, we have to focus on ourselves. And how can we redefine our life? How can we improve ourselves? How can we see where we fit in this picture of a dynamic where we may have been so emotionally attached to our children we've lost our identity? And even if you're doing all the right things and you're joining the community groups, and maybe you're going to counseling or therapy, or you got into some kind of recovery, or starting to deal with some issues you never did before because you have the bandwidth to do so now, it doesn't take away that we still had goals and plans and dreams and visions for our adult children. And what they do, even if they are extremely successful in their lives, and I don't mean monetarily, but just in what they're doing overall, all in their choices, it may not live up to the things we wanted for them or the way we would do it. For us to continue to build that successful adult parent, adult child relationship, we have to be very acutely aware of what we're saying, how we're saying it, and in the tone we communicate it. Now, the reason is for this, it is if we hear something our adult kids are doing, we may respond in a passive aggressive way, in a way of disappointment, even if it's not as overt as, what, you're doing that? You should never do that. I didn't raise you to do that. It's not really our place to put judgment on them at this time. And it's going to be so important that you learn the parental, I'm going to call this the parental poker face. Because when we are exuding any type of disappointment or judgment, even in a facial expression, even in a, because they said something, but then you're so proud of yourself because you zipped it and didn't say anything. Look, you most likely raised these kids, whether you're the grandparent, the parent, the aunt, the uncle, the legal guardian. They know you. They read you like a book, just like you read them. And that nonverbal communication is pushing them further away. Now, I see this happen a lot in a lot of adult kids. They grow up, they move on, they get married. They're intentionally not telling you things because they don't want that judgment that things are going to leak out. So say you're talking to them. I'm going to give you a non-related example, because sometimes when it's outside of our situation, we can see it better. When I worked with women, men, anybody in a domestic violence situation, I learned early on in my personal life, meeting some females who were in severe domestic violence situations, my want was to fix it, to help them escape, to say, come on, let's go, let's get you out of there. You can come to my house, we'll get you to a shelter and a program. And even though that's to our logical brain, if you don't come from that, the most rational thing to do, they're not in a position where they're ready for that. So if we're coming in a full force, I'm going to take you out, rescue you, help you, oh my gosh, or in a judgmental way, even though maybe that's not our intention, how could you let that happen? That's not who you are. Hey, one of your kids could be in that situation. But that overt, I learned before I was even a clinician, meeting people where they're at and being available for when they are ready to get the help or get support they need is the key for escaping domestic violence, for having a relationship with your kids. And the domestic violence thing, I remember being at a job once. The location of my job at the time had moved, and I got in an elevator, and that first lady I met that I knew from church, actually, that was in that situation, and so many of us were like, we're going to help you, we're going to get you out. And it was pretty severe. I won't even tell you how severe it was. However, she kept saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. For a long time, this individual said, I don't want to give up the lifestyle. I don't have the money to defend myself. I'll lose my kids. I won't be able to feed them. So they took the abuse to survive. But the people that came alongside her and met her where she was out at and had her, and domestic violence programs and shelters help with this, build a plan, her escape plan. That's how she was going to get out safely, and that's actually the way it usually works. But I saw this woman years later on an elevator. She got in, and I was so excited to see her, and she looked so good, and she was standing tall and looking confident. And she did her healthy escape plan, and she was a paralegal, and I don't know if she was looking to go into law school. She had gotten out safely. The people who walked that journey with her, and she was more of an acquaintance than a close friend of mine, are the ones that helped her. We need to communicate to our adult children with our verbal and nonverbal communication that we are there to support them. And it may not be the way you want, and I'm not saying it's as extreme as a domestic violence situation, but as far as, you hear one of your kids say they're on an allowance and they're the breadwinner, and they're being, maybe in your perception, financially controlled or emotionally controlled or physically controlled, where they're not allowed to go anywhere without permission. And you're thinking, wow, you're an independent man, woman, gender. This is not who you're supposed to be. They're going to hide it. I know women who hid it, and men, because they didn't want the family of origin to be disappointed. There are areas your adult kids may need your help. But if you are sitting there biting your lip and showing it on your face, it's going to push them away because they're going to see the disappointment. It is so important that you validate the positives that you see in your adult children's lives to create a safe emotional relationship. So when they do need help, they know you've got their back, and always tell them you've got your back. And that may be like, you're talking to a kid, oh, look, I'm going to give you a public example. And hey, I don't care where you fall on the side of the fence with this. As a clinician, this is a really good example that a lot of people in the industry talk about, and that is the Prince Harry, Meghan Markle situation. Non-emotional facts. You see, anytime there's a relationship where your partner starts to distance you from your friends and your family of origin, that's an abuse sign. That's an abuse sign of people bringing you in, caressing you, love bombing you, which means giving you all the things. Hey, it's you and I against the world. Red flag when you hear that. So that's such a good example of what appears to be, not that either of these people are human, it's just a good psychology example of, Meghan Markle coming in estranged from her family, estranging herself from her family of origin, and then slowly estranging Prince Harry from his family of origin, from his friends, to the point where things have blown up in the media where you see her guiding him around, controlling him, he's cut off. Yes, he has a choice, but it's a gaslight situation. It's an abuse pattern. Criticizing the person and saying, hey, you've lost yourself, where are you? You know, I'm so disappointed, isn't going to get that person help. And I don't care where you stand on the royal family. And on that dynamic, it's just a good public example. Same thing with your kids. Be the safe person. Validate what they're doing well. So let's say I was, you know, the mother of Prince Harry or whatever, and I see him, you know, doing something independent, a trip, showing the strengths that he was born with. And I say, oh my gosh, son, I'm so proud of you. You just killed it on that engagement. Maybe an engagement he did alone, something he did alone, validating a behavior that he had that was strong, instead of focusing on, wow, you've thrown your family under the bus and alienated everybody who loved you and lost yourself. Do you hear the difference? That's going to subconsciously start reminding the person of who they really are, and just saying, and if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. But not entering the critical thing, because what happens when somebody's in a relationship like that, say you tell your child, well, I don't think your mate is really good for you and I don't like them, they're going to go home and tell their mate, period, because that's their safe person. And now you've given ammunition to the mate to badmouth you as the parent or the friend. Hope that all makes sense. Guard your words, guard your expressions. The parental poker face. Not judgment. Validate the good. Let them know you're always there for them. Don't show judgment. It's going to push them away. Look, our role as adult parents of adult kids is to have the welcome mat out and our lips zipped. I told you on my very first video, 80, 90 videos ago, getting close to 100 videos, that was the best advice I ever got on being an empty nester, because that keeps the relationship going. It's just like in an addiction. If you love somebody with an addiction, we support the wellness. We don't enable the sickness. You want to go to treatment? I am going to help you go to treatment. But I'm not giving you money to pay your rent, because, well, and I know as a clinician, we know where that money is going. I'm not going to support you so you don't have to work so you can use and drink. You support and help the wellness. Don't enable the sickness. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please send them to me. Leave a comment. Let me know if this helped you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Look, we're a small niche in the empty nest community. You know, I'm not Mrs. Beast or whoever that guy is I learned about. It's just finding our niche and sticking together. God loves you. I love you. I pray for you guys in this community. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Dawn, the Recovery Lady. See you next time.